West Tigers fans, welcome in to another edition of the Coaches Report with Adel Hage, coming in up there from Queensland. And we are getting this, we were a bit late on the show, about 24 hours too late with the show. Well, 48 hours by the time we got it up last week. This week, such is the commitment to get you guys this show out on time. I am sitting in the car park of the Leagues Club at Campbelltown Stadium in the Statsman's red little rocket, where, look, we probably will sit here for another half an hour, probably just depressed, thinking about that game, thinking about how we were so goddamn close to getting a very important win that would have taken us to 6-5. And as you can imagine, it was from us here at the ground, it went from absolute elation to absolute devastation in the matter of one referee putting his two hands in the air and knowing that Lockie had in fact lost that ball. But it would be interesting to hear from Coach tonight. Mr. Bashara is coming in. He watched it from the Red Room tonight. How are you this evening, Mr. Bashara? Obviously, just like Statsman and myself, very heartbroken after that one.
Yeah, g'day, boys. Definitely heartbroken. I've got to be honest, I kind of try to emotionally remove myself from the game in a way prior to it starting, because I knew we were going to do this half an hour later, and I just didn't want to be absolutely, have a purple face and be effing and cussing and what have you all night. I expected South to win pre-game, like given what our lineup looked like, the bench, but just watching that game, again, I get accused of blaming the referees every week. One team was refereed in the first half. I just thought our boys were very brave. That was the one thing I took out of it. And look, most of the weeks, except for last week, we've stuck to the task. We've been very committed. But ultimately, obviously, I'll get Adel's expert opinion, but we scored 12 points tonight through two pieces of individual brilliance from Api Coruscant. We had zero attack. Like, we absolutely had zero attack. We would have been kept scoreless if it wasn't for those two bits of brilliance. So I'm really disappointed. We discussed last week about the tough draw we've had with Adel, and I kind of disagree in the sense that other than Brisbane away and Melbourne away, we've actually had a really good draw. I think the teams we've played and some of the teams we've played without certain players, I think we've had a really good draw, and we're coming into even though we've got some buys coming up, I think our draw for the rest of the year is quite difficult. So this one hurts. This one really hurts. It would have been nice to get the win going into the bye, but it is what it is, boys. I just feel like we're jinxed. Anyway. I want to hear what Adel has to say, or his opening impressions, but it just seems like it's like we're cursed, man. It's just like we're cursed.
The Campbelltown curse, yeah.
No, it's not even Campbelltown, mate. If you think about all the referee, what's his name?
We've had here.
Wyatt Raymond refereed like that at Leichhardt every week. We'd lose every week at Leichhardt. It was so one-sided in the first half. Blatant knock-ons missed, a try held up, forward passes missed. All our markers, when they were square, were being called offside. Again, but the thing is, this is what's good about the West Tigers. Somehow, when Lockie Galvin drops the ball over the line, we could have been winning that game against all those odds. That's what's incredible about how hard the team tries and their commitment to the task. But everything goes against us, yet we're still in there. That game, the way it was refereed today, should have been 36-0. Like, we had no right to be in that game. But again, credit to the boys for putting on a show for, the loyal fans that showed up tonight. But yeah, I'm not going to lie, man. I'm devastated. I felt like if we won tonight, that just would have at least kept Wooden Spoon away from any sort of talk and keeps us in the finals race. But even though we're 5 and 6 guys, I just think this is devastating. Samuel Afenu looks injured. Obviously, Toa came off, so he's not 100% right. Just a few heroic performances tonight that aren't going to get rewarded, Josh. So it's really, really, I feel bad for the boys, man. I didn't play. Adel didn't play. You didn't play. But I feel sorry for all those boys that busted their ass out there tonight not to get the result.
As it's just showing me the blue side that's been a name tonight. So as expected, 0 West Tigers named in there. Stefano and Max King got the spots on the bench with Hudson Young and Campbell Graham.
So. That's a joke.
So
That's a joke.
just being a West Tigers fan. Adel, thank you so much again coming in from up there this evening. I'll let Mr. Bashara take this one away, and we'll head on back into the inner west of Sydney, and a very quiet. What kind of tunes can we get on as? Maybe some somber, I don't know, some somber music to cry to on our way home as we listen to these guys. All right, take it away, Mr. Bashara and Coach Adel.
All right, thanks, boys. G'day, Adel. Hope you're well, mate. I don't know, like you, I haven't had much time to rewatch anything. I'm still getting over what happened with 3 minutes left and Lockie Galvin not grounding that ball and the euphoria that my son Rob Jr. and I had at the moment, and then just getting it taken off us. But it was a correct decision. But just tell me what you thought of the game overall, mate.
Yeah, well, first thing, I actually seen it live that he dropped the ball, and so I had no emotions. I immediately seen it, and it's not the first time that Mr. Galvin has dropped the ball over the line in that position in a big moment in a game, going back to the schoolboys grand final a couple of years ago. But yeah, look, that was deflating, to be honest. I'm someone that's pretty upbeat. I think it gave me a lot of clarity around about our squad, about the fact that it needs to be, what moving forward needs to look like. Once you're 10 rounds into a season, well, this is where you start to separate the men from the boys, and those guys that can handle coming off the back of a 64-0, drubbing. It's, it tells you a lot about yourselves, and it's no surprise to me who stood up today. Like our best player, our most important player, our leader was our best player, and that's because this is the difference between being a class individual and the levels to playing and being a winner is when you lose a game like that and you play for a club you love and you're in a team that you love, you're supposed to come out the next week and bring out your absolute best performance. That's anything less than that is not acceptable. So I wasn't surprised at his performance this week. We were playing a Wayne Bennett coach side. We knew what it was going to be. They were going to complete. They completed at 88%. They were going to do all the simple things right. I know we're going to be I know there's controversy about Terrell May not making Origin. I'll tell you what, after watching Keon Kilamatangi today, geez, he'd be hard done one that if he didn't make that squad, because he took us on. He was a one-man forward pack taking us on in the middle of the field. But the things that we've lacked all year, Rob, are still there, and that is our first up contact. We don't win collisions at all. Jai Gray was winning collisions today against us, and we couldn't win collision against them. It's my big criticism of our squad. It's the criticism I have of our coaching, and whatever we do in and around our collision and our contact, it's just not there. It's not evident. Toa coming in at right centre made a big difference for us defensively today. But I don't really know. Obviously, we not unusually we get the chance to review the game and whatnot, but that just looked like we almost ran out of ideas, and it was purely going to be will and individual brilliance that was going to get us home. And I've mentioned Uppy. I have to mention Jareem Buller. He was unbelievable as well.
I was going to say I'm definitely going to disagree with you there. I think I know Appy had a 10 out of 10 performance. I think Jareem Buller was our best player. I mean, he did it for 80 minutes. I mean, Appy was pretty good in the first half, and there's only that stroke of brilliance in the 40th minute that when Appy started to assert himself from there, and then in the second half he was brilliant as well. But I thought overall Buller was our best player. But I mean, again, for Appy Coruscant, for Terrell May, for those guys to play 80 minutes and do what they did, it was incredible. Look, I think we should save a lot of pain for all our listeners. I really don't want to talk about any of the bullshit that we caught from the referees unless you actually want to specifically mention anything. So do you want to talk us through the first half or any key points? Obviously, this is a controversial decision. How does Wyatt Raymond award that try to Havili when all the camera angles show he's held up? And then how does the referee not overturn that? I don't think it's a case of inconclusive evidence. I think it's clear that he was held up. What did Wyatt Raymond see that we didn't see via the cameras? But again, talk us through what you saw in the first half, and we'll sort of wing it from there, given we've had no time to prepare for this.
Yeah, the first half for me was typical of South Sydney. They try to suffocate you. What they try to do is they try to control as much possession as they can. They've got Latrell, who kicks the ball really deep and really long. You would have seen that in the first half against the Breeze, Latrell did all their kicking because he's got such a big boot, so he put the ball deep. That, you know, whether you like to, you know, I obviously, again, we haven't watched the game on review, but South Sydney are very disciplined. They try to not give away penalties when a team's coming out of yardage, but there were occasions there where I thought we should have got some penalties. He didn't give them to us, whatever. What they do really well is they don't give up. They don't make mistakes coming out of yardage. You know, early on in the game, you know, we were the first to break. Stafford drops the ball. You know, they get position. They sort of then start to dictate field position for a big chunk of that first half. And then Galvin goes to the bin. You know, that was never going to help us. And it wasn't so much about having 12 men for 10 minutes. It's the petrol that you use in that period. But I thought we did a really good job to defend our try line today. I thought we handled Latrell pretty well. His impact sort of come on his own defensive efforts during the game. So I think that was it. You know, that was positive from our end. But look, they played with two halves that were very passive. You know, didn't throw much at us, so we didn't have to defend too much shape. I barely think we defended any sort of shape, did we? So, you know, soft try from Havili. Look, I sort of sit on the fence there. Like when I was watching it, I sort of went, well, look, you can't really see if the ball. Like there was periods there where you can't see the ball. So once he gave the try, they were never going to overturn it. Like in my eyes, they were never going to overturn it. The funny thing is, I just think if it was the other way around, what do I think? Yeah, maybe we're skeptical, maybe we're biased, but we've been in situations before where it's been the other way around and they found reason to overturn it. The thing I find crazy is, and Uppy was arguing with the referee after it, but the referee tried to come up with this thing about he ended up on the floor because he pushed the player first. But all year we see, you know, it happens to us all the time. The guy playing the ball pushes the marker to the ground. They stop the game, they wait for the marker to get back up, and they allow him to play it. It happens to us before that try, and the referee says it's okay. So, I mean, what do we do? Like I said to you at the start of the year, mate, it's just part and parcel of being a team that's been at the bottom of the ladder for 3 years. Nobody cares if you don't get the calls your way, especially the big calls. You know, the Jerome Luai being called offside at marker, like I actually seen a still shot somewhere on social media and someone put it up and he was like a millimetre to the left of the first marker, or to Samuela. Like I'm sitting there
Happened all first half, mate.
If you're going to call that, you're going to call that all game. Yeah, Uppy jumped out of dummy half a couple of times where guys, you know, the markers were what they call split. Referee didn't call nothing. Like he was doing it at will. And it's because they can do it. That's the truth. The truth is they can do it. And I know we're jumping a little bit, but in the second half, there was multiple opportunities to put blokes in the bin. Latrell should have went to the bin for a professional foul that wasn't given. Even the one where Campbell Graham was thought to have pulled Dewey, which I don't think he actually did. But if that's a penalty, that's a sin bin. Excuse me, mate. If we talk about referees, we're going to drive ourselves mad, to be honest.
Yeah, but even the Isaiah Tass, for him to go up to the video ref, they're like, okay, we just had two blokes that were offside. But then once they actually go to a video ref, and they're the two men involved in the tackle that stopped the guy from going over the try line. I'm trying to be objective here. I actually thought it was to South's benefit for us to have a player in the sin bin, even though we nullified it to a degree. But if you're going to go to the video for that, that's a penalty try. Like both players were offside. If you're saying that they got involved and stopped him from scoring, to me, that's a penalty try.
You can't, not in rugby. Well, you can't. That's like saying if, you know, a bloke's inside the 10, when you shift the ball and he makes the tackle on you, you're not going to give a penalty try.
But
the interesting part from my perspective is, but that's like saying the winger's offside. They shift the ball and the winger tackles the winger. If he was offside, are you going to say penalty try?
Yeah, no, I'm not going to agree with you there,
Yeah.
mate. I think that's a clear.
Yeah.
I think it's a clear penalty try.
No, I get. Well, let's go back a step.
Okay.
Any penalty for inside the 10 meters, as long as the play doesn't break down, is actually a 6 to go. So why wasn't it a 6 to go? Because I will text you when this happens. There will be times this year when someone will make a break, they will shift the ball, someone won't make the try line, the referee will rule 6 to go. He won't give a penalty because that's what the rule says.
I agree with
It's
you
not a
there.
penalty
I
for
agree with
inside
you
the
there,
10.
and I think he went to the video.
Inside the 40.
He went to the video because he wanted the video ref to give a penalty try. I think the video ref came back with professional foul because I think that's the only. You're right. That should be 6 again.
No, I think what happened was the reason he went to the video referee is because they originally thought Taruva was the one. They thought Galvin got back, but then they realised.
Correct.
And then
They were both off.
when they realised that Taruva didn't have much of an impact, they then checked Galvin and seen that Galvin was offside. So, yeah, look, that one I can't really blame. And I get what you're saying. Like, it's probably to our advantage, but it ended up being the same result, really. We conceded one try in that period, but.
Do you have any thoughts on the Ewan Aitken try? How that broke down? How they got the try there?
Well, the referee called Jerome out. Jerome's got to make that tackle. I think in hindsight, he knows to just give away a penalty there. But I think it was the ridiculousness of being like he called our second markers out so many times in that first half. And this is the point. Like if you go through the game, if you go to a game and sit behind the posts and watch markers, markers are never square, mate. Never. No marker is ever square. And they sit there and they want to nitpick in these situations. He calls him out. Jerome should have made the tackle. They make a break. We've never been a really good team in that situation where they make breaks, and Buller did a really good job. I thought the first part of it, but then they got the ball away, and we haven't done really well. Early on in the season we did really well with that sort of stuff, but lately, when teams get into our backfield, we struggle to sort of make tackles with change of direction and whatnot. That was disappointing, mate. That was actually the first part of the game where I actually thought once we hit 12-0, I actually got really deflated. I couldn't. You're not going to run down, and as much as we almost did, you're not going to run down a Wayne Bennett team. And if you are, you're going to have to be really, really good to do it because they're not going to beat themselves, and they didn't. We come back off the back of individual brilliance, and yeah.
I can see your disappointment, mate.
Tough loss, mate.
Before we I'd like to talk about it for about an hour, if I could. The Appy Coruscant moment of brilliance where he breaks Latrell Mitchell's ankles. I want your thoughts on Royce Hunt starting. Was that a success, given the fact that he got a really long period? He came back on with 15 minutes to go, so he basically got a 55-minute rest. I think that's the most minutes we've got out of Royce Hunt this year. And I think, even though we did win the game, I think that was the most successful way or successful tactic that we could, get the most output out of him. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I thought he played well. I thought he went forward. He carried strong. Look, I said to you at the start of the year, Royce Hunt is what he is. He's a big. He's not a very athletic or mobile middle. He's just someone. He's a big body. I don't think anything that we did to lose the game today was because of Royce Hunt. Like I think he did the role that was asked of him, and I think potentially that's something that he's going to do it for the next 6 weeks while Fanua's out. I thought he did a good job for us. I thought he started the game really well with his go forward.
All right, mate. Well, talk us through your favourite player's first solo try tonight that had brilliance written all over it. It wasn't like a typical Appy try from 5 metres out or within 5 metres out from the goal line. It was basically a 60-plus metre effort with a lot of work to do. And I know I'm being a little bit negative. It's almost a sign of us at the moment where we're so flat and we're so
we have no push. And I'm going to go to the try in a second, right? And I'm not being negative here. Like, I am being negative.
No, sure. I want you to be objective.
To understand. Yeah, I want us to understand what we look like as a team at the moment. The fact that he got into the backfield, he got through, and then, mate, he slowed down so much to wait for support, and nothing came. Because I think as a group, what we're doing is we're sort of waiting for someone else to do something. There's no faith. There's no push off the ball. When I say push off the ball, if I pass the ball from dummy half to you, Rob, and someone else is on the field, where especially the halves are supposed to be support players, and Galvin does it really well. Oh, hang on, let me rephrase that. Did it really well for a large part of his career so far for us, until a certain time. I'm going to say this directly, because he used to be someone that we said it when he scored against Parramatta. He's very good at support play. He hasn't been lately, and that's a choice. But that was sort of a bit of an indicator for me. When he got into the backfield, I sort of put my head down and went, there's no support. This is ridiculous. Like, it shows it's a bit of a sign of us. And there, when you look at from coaching points, that's a coaching point where if he doesn't do what he does, well, you sit there and go, boys, there's an opportunity. We've missed it. What he did to Latrell was high football IQ. It wasn't the footwork. It was the dummy of the kick. Latrell didn't do anything wrong. Latrell actually handled that really well, because when Uppy shows to kick, if you're a fullback, you want to turn and chase. So Latrell's planted his feet, getting ready to turn. Uppy's then obviously dummied the kick and then come off his left foot, and he's got him. So it's more the smarts of Uppy's bluff more so than his footwork. Now, in saying that, he does get him in the second half with footwork. But in that moment, that was just smarts. That was the deceptiveness. That was the coyness of his understanding of that situation. And he lulled Latrell into a false sense of security and absolutely done him. And if you would have seen it on the replay, Latrell looked at the big screen and sort of acknowledged it and realised, yep, he got him. And it should have been a big moment. It should have been a big moment. We should have, the boys should have reacted to that. That should have been the biggest boost going into halftime. And I think it was. Like, we played really well in the second half, to be fair.
Look, I said at the start of the show, we wouldn't have scored any points tonight without Appy. Is it fair to say, I'm trying to look for excuses, but personally, I just think our attack is just garbage. But is it fair to say, given all the defensive work we did, plus the wet weather conditions, is that any excuse for our poor attack? Because let's be honest too, South weren't exactly setting the world on fire with attack. They've had a dummy half try from Avili. They've got a try when Luai's called offside pretty much, and they go through a gaping hole down the middle. I can't even remember the third try, mate. You're going to have to talk me through the third try. I can't even remember who scored it. I think I just dropped my head down, and you can probably get onto that if we go into the second half. But is our attack just bad, which I think it is, or is can all that defensive toll be an excuse for not having any energy left with the ball?
Look, I think that it's finally caught up to us that. Well, let me say this. If you think about who's injured and who got injured today for us, we keep losing our attacking weapons. Jarrell Skelton, Stafford Teller's been out, come back today, and obviously he started cramping up. Samuela, Fanua Pole. Fanua's our best attacking forward. He brings points. He influences points on the board. He's a point of attack for us. So we've lost a lot of our attack. But what's caught up with us is we don't have strike weapons in our back line. Tito's a great finisher. Stafford Toa is the one bloke that can, that if you give him the ball one-on-one, he's going to do some good things. Dewey's. I know we differ with this. That was Dewey's worst performance of the year today.
Yeah, I'm not going to shy away. I won't say what I said during the live commentary because my son had a good laugh about it. But yeah, he just couldn't pick his legs up all game. He looked really slow.
Which I can understand, mate. Like, at the end of the day, I don't know what Dewey is. I don't know what his position is. But the problem we've got is, it puts no fear into the opposition. And again, I'm going to have a crack at Alex Seyfarth on the right edge. If If you're a left half for the opposition, there's no fear. Jamie Humphries made that one-on-one tackle because it's like Alex Seyfarth does not break defensive lines. The only time I've seen Alex Seyfarth do anything is when he's been put into absolute holes and he's untouched. Like, he doesn't break tackles. He almost went to the sin bin in the second half for another brain explosion. So when you've got guys on the field that don't put fear into the opposition on your edge, it makes your edge really easy to defend. The other thing I think that we've got wrong is we've gone to this new tactic of, and it's worked a little bit, of sitting Jareem on his own on a short side or on a short 4-man side, and we're trying to play Galvin and Luai together a lot on that left. I think the problem with that is sometimes you want to get Jareem in on tail plays against some tired halves coming or weaker halves like Sullivan and Humphries, where they're having to go to the outside and you can beat them one-on-one, instead of giving that to Galvin. Campbell Graham is an elite centre on that right edge. He picked Galvin off all day. And there's the next tactic, and this is the tough part of having Dewey as a centre, is you've got to take Campbell Graham out of the game. And this is the notion tactically where I think we got it wrong. Campbell Graham is a very good defender when he shuts down defence. So what you try to do is you try to start running lead lines on him, and you stop him, and you make Bailey Bentley Harvey become the defender trying to make decisions, which we did against St George with Tyrell Sloan. But for some reason today we were running lead lines on our back rower, and Campbell Graham was the one making decisions, and he's an elite centre. So I think strategically we got that wrong. We've got plotters. We've got a lot of plotters in our team. I thought Tony Tuka did a good job when he came on. I don't think he's going to be someone he's not a dynamic back rower, but I don't know. The eye test tells me he's probably a better option on the right edge than what we've currently got. But off the back of today, it looks like he's probably going to be on our left edge because it looks like Samuel has come off with an injury.
Yeah, look, I know we've got a lot of injuries, Adel, but I also watched a game this morning of Cronulla playing Melbourne last night, and Cronulla lost Ramian after 6 minutes, and I think they lost their right winger, whose name escapes me, after 22 minutes, and that was during the game. They lost their right edge, basically, and they still won the game. And that's against Melbourne, who we're not allowed to beat Melbourne because we're so inferior to Melbourne. We go down there and lose by 60, and we beaten Cronulla a few weeks ago, and Cronulla end up beating Melbourne. So I know, like, every team can make excuses about losing players. They lost players during the game, and they overcame it. We lose players before the game even, and we can't overcome it. I just think we're struggling for depth. And given our chat last week, Adel, about our roster and how weak it is, and I'll be honest, you pointing out how bad it was actually depressed me all week. I was thinking we're a big chance of playing finals till I spoke to you last Monday night and we did this show, because I thought, you're right, like, Benji's basically calling on 23 players out of a top 30. Like, there's 7 players there that will never get picked. And I know every squad doesn't go down to the 30th player, but we are really light. Like, we couldn't even replace Fanua Bole today. Can you imagine if Terrell May's out? Who do we replace to play 80 minutes of Terrell May output? We're just in a real, unless we make some signings before June 30th, I don't see how this season gets better. I will just digress for 1 minute, Adel, because I've been asked a few questions on Twitter, which I tried to answer, but I may as well ask them to you. I know it's early to say this now, but how many more games do you think we'll win this year, right now? If there were no roster changes, I mean, it looks like Samuel is going to be out for an extended period. We know we've lost Vanua Bole for a while. Don't know if Toa re-injured himself again or not today, but just in your mind, given we're coming up to a tougher part of the draw, how many more games do you think we're a chance of winning?
No, I think we'll win games. I actually do think we'll win games. I think this bye, which I think we all acknowledge we've been waiting for, and the good thing about that is, after the bye, we should get Jarrell back, we should get Latu back. I believe the next 14, a lot's going to happen at our club in the next 14 days. That's my opinion. I think you'll find that I reckon Latu will play. And that's the other person I didn't mention before about, attack. Latu's an attacking player. Latu's got to improve his defensive component. He can tackle really well, but the sustainability of being able to defend for 80 minutes is going to be the challenge for him. But we have no doubt that if Latu's on the field, our attack looks good because he straightens our attack so well, whether that's playing as a half or playing at 13, which he did that one game where he come on. We'll win games, Rob. I'm confident of that. We'll also lose some games that we should win. That's going to be the tough part. Is we're gonna come up with these games where we're going to sit there and go, we should have won those games. We'll win games. I have no doubt about that. I don't think our season is going to sort of dip to the sense that we're going to lose like multiple games after multiple games. I don't think that's going to happen. But could be wrong. It's sort of hard to tell, isn't it, at the moment? Like, the confidence is down. I thought that in the first half, it looked like the team's confidence was down as well. They sort of almost played a little bit scared in that first half, which you can understand after getting beat by 60. But yeah, roster, Rob? That's our $1 million question at the moment. Like,
just the amount of changes. Sorry.
No, I will say this, okay? And I've been very, very positive all year, but reality is we are now 11 rounds into the season, and I'd like to think that the club will sit there and start to assess where they're at after 11 rounds, because we are more than a third through the season now, and they've got to start to hit a bit of reality. And I'm positive in so many aspects of what we do, but the facts are the recruitment of the club has been horrendous. Like, how we recruit is so reactive. There's some challenges, but also there's lack of awareness of certain things. And I'm not saying that this has made a difference today, right? But when you loan a player to a club for a year, Rob, do you know what the first thing you do is?
Be attacking?
No. As part of the loan agreement, he does not play against you.
Well, we've had Harry Grant loaned to us, and I'm surely he played against Melbourne when we had him.
No, he was not. He didn't play, but he was not allowed to play. I think he was hurt, anyways, but he was not allowed to play.
Okay.
How can you like? And I'm not saying Jaden Sullivan was the difference today, but if Jaden Sullivan doesn't play today, they have to play somebody else. It's only a little thing, but it's a part of it's a big picture thing. He can play 26 rounds of the year, can't play against us. Where is, what do they call it? Where is parent club? Because at the end of the day, he's still contracted to us, over the period. Now, South may have said no to that, but, that's at least something I would have presented. As I said, our recruitment has been terrible.
Well, he put a big hit on Royce Hunt today, so he earned his keep for South today. That was a pretty good hit at a much needed time for South, like 5 metres out from the line.
Well, we've tried to run that play 4 times now in the last 6 weeks, and it's never come off. It was always the Real May running it. They ran it with Royce Hunt today. I get it, but that's reactiveness to me. That play got run once against us against the Broncos, and ever since we've been obsessed with it. We keep trying to run it. We're copying a lot of what's being done from against us, and we're trying to bring it into our attack, which I don't mind, but don't be obsessed on something that may not be for us. Why don't we create off our 9 in a different way, where he's the one actually going to try to create a little bit more instead of trying to get him to just pass the ball too much. But anyways, mate, yeah, look, our roster and our recruitment needs to improve. And I don't know how they do it. I mean, I have an understanding a little bit about what they do, but I'm not criticizing who we've signed this year. And a lot of this criticism from me right now is not so much about this current administration. It's about the last 4 years, and who we've re-signed and how it took, if someone had 3 good games in a row, we'd just sign them for 3 years. That's literally what we're doing. Wait till we get to the NRLW and we start talking about their recruitment. Then you'll see some criticism. But yeah, this roster's not good enough. And 11 rounds in, and it can be done. Gus did it in 2 years at the Bulldogs.
Mate, I'm all
Turned the whole
for
roster over.
I'm all for criticising the previous administration, but this administration, I guess under Benji's instructions, they're the ones that re-signed Seyfarth for another 3 years. Like, Seyfarth shouldn't be near the 17 as far as I'm concerned. He's just got too many poor moments in a game. I'm not doubting he doesn't try hard, but sometimes he just tries stupid. You know, he does some dumb things.
He's not a first grader, Rob.
Yeah, I know. So, well, that's not on the past administration.
No, I agree. But what I told you this, and I know this for a fact. Alex Seyfarth is on peanuts. So that's the thing, right? He'd be a good depth player that he played 2 or 3 games a year and played for West Magpies all year. That's where he's going to be good. So our job is to now recruit. For example, we're trying to sign Kai Pearce-Paul. From what I understand, it's already done. I think it's a terrible signing. You want me to tell you the truth? I think it's a terrible signing.
I'm with you, but the thing is,
and I've read people talking about, he's got this and he's got that, but I watched him in the Super League. If you can't dominate the Super League as a back rower, what you want as a back rower is a Gareth Ellis type back rower. That's the type of back rower you want in the NRL. Guys who are good line runners. Okay, you got to be a good line runner. You got to be a good defender on an edge. That's got to be the key. That's why Sammy Weller is a good player, and he's going to be a good player moving forward. Okay, and he's only young, so you can see the upside to that. Okay, Kai Pearce-Paul is soft. Like, I've watched Newcastle ever since the rumor came out, and I'm sitting there going, but to me it looks like we need a back rower. Who's the one playing the most first grade that's available? And I know the contract he's on, so if we're going to pick up that contract, that's a lot of money being thrown away. So I'm sitting there going, I hope they don't sign him. Because
unfortunately, I think we're very close to signing him, mate. Unfortunately, I think it's just about a done deal. But again, as poor as he is, he's an upgrade on Seyfarth. That's the thing. And I don't even want Seyfarth in the middle rotation. Like, he doesn't bend the line. He doesn't do anything, mate. He just gives away penalties and does poor things, and dropped a ball near the line today that he had no right to lose. Let's just talk about some of that red zone attack, Adel, especially like we dominated that first 10 to 15 minutes of the second half. Is it just a case of isolating Buller too much and having the halves on one side? What are we doing wrong there? Are we doing too many drop-offs, or, like in a set of 6, how many times should we be throwing something, like whether it's some sort of shape or some sort of attacking play at the opposition?
You should be going shot for shot for shot. So it should be in shape the whole time. I think what we don't do really well is we're so slow to play the ball. And I'll be critical of referees here. We don't get 6 to go calls on the team's try line. I don't think we fight enough to play the ball as well. Because what happens is, if you can get a 6 to go call where there's a ruck infringement or it's a slow play the ball, it sort of puts a bit of pressure on the defence. I don't think we fight enough there. I think we're a little bit selfish as well. And this is a little bit about our red zone, but I'm going to expand on that to other stuff. How many times have I seen guys that, are slow to get up and play the ball because they're worried about it, or they're talking to the referee, or they're doing stuff that, they're worried about themselves in that moment? No. If you're carrying the football to get us to a point of the field, your job is to find your front, get up and play the ball fast to create for somebody else, not to sit there and fight and try to get an extra couple of meters on your stats. When you're within 10 meters of a try line, your job is to find your front, get up, compromise the spaces around the marker, play the ball, and let us create on the back of it. The other thing is, we don't straighten our attack at all. All our halves go sideways. That's why Latu is so important. I think Jerome started to run the football. I like when he runs the football, and I want to see him run the football early in games when we're running shape. Okay, if he can do that early in the game, I think that'll create a little bit for himself later. The challenge is for Galvin, and he missed it twice in that second half, is when we created for him 3-on-2s on 2 occasions, and he kept crabbing sideways, and he threw a bad pass on one time, and then he threw a second bad pass on the other time. You've got to be classy enough to be able to catch the ball, going sideways, straighten up, and execute that 3-on-2, which he didn't do. And on the second occasion, he went himself and dropped the ball over the line. But I'd love to see trading. I wish I was in Sydney. If I was in Sydney, I would have went down to Concord and watched a bit of training. Like, I'd love to see what they do and how they do it, sort of what the chemistry is like at training and all that sort of stuff. Because, yeah, it just doesn't feel like our attack in the red zone is with love. That's hard to explain. It's like there's no intent in what we're doing amongst the boys trying to create for each other. I think a lot of it's just, I'll try to do something on my own. And if I do, my job's done. Someone else can do something else off the back of that. It's just no togetherness in that red zone attack. I think they're trying to create a little bit for themselves and then a little bit of, I'll do my job and then it's somebody else to do their job, instead of me trying to create for somebody else and not dying on the play and keep moving and being alive and not getting back behind the ball and always being alert, always being alive, all that sort of stuff. I think we're lacking that a little bit.
Mate, media reports are saying that the West Tigers board are going to have a meeting regarding the future of Lachlan Galvin early this coming week, about releasing him, obviously at the end of this season, perhaps sooner. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think he will see out the season? Do you think he'll leave at the end of the season, or is there a chance he leaves mid-year?
That's a weird one that got, though it was said, because Richo has come out and said that there's no more board stuff. It's he makes the decisions. So why all of a sudden has it become that it's going to be the board meeting over this, which is a bit of a weird one. So I think there's a little bit of strategy with that being leaked. I think it also coincides with potentially Latu coming back next week.
Yeah, I think that's more the case.
I don't know, mate. I don't know at the moment what's going on, is the honest truth. And, I think the reality is that, these next 2 weeks, I think a lot's going to happen. Either nothing's going to happen, and if it doesn't happen now, it's not going to happen for the rest of the year, or a lot's going to happen in the next 2 weeks. But, there's just so much going around at the moment. Like, there was obviously a false rumor that came out this week about him. It's a done deal at the Bulldogs. But the problem is, until we say he can be released, from the Bulldogs, but let's say it's a Bulldog, let's say it's Parramatta, it doesn't matter who it is. How can you offer him anything until you know? You can't. Because even if what are you offering him for 27, which technically you're not allowed to do, but excuse me, if you are, it just makes no sense, because, mate, to manage rosters, it's not as easy as just shuffling the decks in that moment. If they're going to sign him, if they're trying to get him out of a contract now to sign him for 26, well, that's a big difference of their salary cap. So, I don't think it's as clear cut as what people are making it out to be with him in regards to his release. If you're the West Tigers, what you do is you let him play out the whole year, and if you want to release him, you release him at the end of the year, because what that does is that forces teams, if they want him, to pay out the most of the money. So you look at the Roosters and what they did with Terrell May. They didn't do it midway through the year. Even the Dom Young situation, that came out. The Dom Young situation was more about the Knights. You don't try to, unless if you want to try to release a player and you're going to get something back for him, you do it at the part of the year where you know that teams have technically already filled their cap. Whereas if you do it now, well, the Bulldogs or Parramatta can manage themselves over the next 6 months. Because at this stage of the year, for example, so to give everybody a bit of an understanding of this, right? People ask me, your lovely cousin Andrew during the week talked to me about David Clemmer. Why did we release David Clemmer? What people don't understand is if you release David Clemmer now with his contract, what that means is you can front, you can put money that's aside for someone like Jerome Luai, for example, who signed $6 million over 5 years. I think that's how his deal works, isn't it?
Yeah.
You can pay him earlier. And what that means is you've got cap space moving forward. So you can actually keep moving the pieces of the puzzle around your cap. And that's how cap management works. So for example, if Clemmer was on 500,000 this year and that gets taken out of the cap, you can pay Jerome 500,000 extra this year to fill your cap space this year. And what that means is that's 500,000 out of his contract over the next 4 years that you can pay somebody else. So this is the art of the salary cap and continually moving the pieces of the puzzle in regards to salary cap management. So for us, it's just got to work out whether it works for our cap or not, and then you dictate when you release and what you do and how you do it. Because if you release Galvin at the midway through at June 30, Rob, you're not actually taking much off the cap for this year. Like, you're not saving yourself any money.
And that's what I thought. I always thought we would get someone in return. Otherwise, Richo's just going to keep him for the next year and a half. So I find it strange as well that there's a meeting suddenly tomorrow. So that's why I asked your thoughts. So do you think he'll be with us till the end of the year?
I think so, yeah.
Mate,
unless something came from another club. That's the only way he will leave us. Unless if it's Parramatta or Bulldogs, unless one of those guys, I can't say the Bulldogs doing it because of how they're travelling. Like, why would the Bulldogs take him now?
Yeah.
You just wouldn't. I'll tell you something interesting, Rob, actually. Did you see when he scored that try, what he did, his post-try celebration?
No, I didn't.
He pointed to his hand. That's the matching tattoo he's got of the coach from the Bulldogs.
Oh, wow. Okay. Very interesting. I never looked at that. I was too busy jumping up and down with my son, actually. Mate, I want to talk to you about Terrell May. Okay. I'll give you some of his stats. He played 80 minutes. He had 199 meters, 79 post contact. He had 6 tackle breaks, 63 tackles, none missed. And I've got to be honest, I thought he's been looking gassed the last couple of weeks. I thought he looked a little bit flat. What I saw in particular from his second half, how he really tried to impose his will on the game, offload when it needed to. Like, he just got to this mode where no mother, you know what, is going to stop me. Like, he was just in cannon pinball mode. Like, I thought he was outstanding again tonight as well. And, you know, obviously not as great as Buller and Appy in my eyes, but I just want your take on what he was able to produce tonight.
Yeah, his second spell was outstanding, wasn't he? Like, at the back end of that game, his intent was significant. I would have loved, after watching today, if Fanua was back next week, I would start Terrell May off the bench.
But you're saying second stint. He played 80 minutes. There's no second stint. It's like one game.
Half, sorry.
Yeah, second half. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, of course.
Yeah, no, sorry. The second half, I'd actually play him off the bench, Rob, because what that does is, you know, and obviously we want him to play 80. We need him, and the key is it's not so much about what he does in the first 20. It's what he does in the last 60 is the key. I would love for Royce Hunt to have started games with Fanua. You bring Terrell May, which the Roosters did, and this is where the most impact came, where 20 minutes into the game, everyone's a little bit tired, and his ability to offload and his ability to impact, I would have loved to have seen that. But we're not going to get to see it because of the fact that Fanua's injured, unless Benji decides to do something a little bit different and start Sione maybe. Because I don't think that, you know, the start of games hasn't been our issue. I think the start of second halves has been our issue. Now, today we had a much better start to our second half. I think the try before halftime helped with that. But I actually think that middle period of the game is the key for us. I think we handle the first 20 minutes of games pretty well. Even if we're down, I think we've played well in the first 20 minutes of games. So I'd love to see us do it. I'd love to see us change things a little bit around and, you know, do things. I want to talk to you. Benji got it right about Brent Naden because Stuffertoe come off with cramps with 20 to go.
Yeah, I still don't like it back on the bench, mate. We've got a forward pack that's absolutely stretched to its limits. I mean, we haven't really been able to replace Fanua Bole. God help us if we've got to replace Terrell May and find 80 minutes out of whatever we've got left below first grade. I want to talk to you about the last tackle kicking options, okay, in both first half and second half. I found it quite interesting that, in particular, Jerome Luai was putting up bombs from like 40 metres out from our own line that were only travelling 10, 15 metres into South's territory in the first half. I was surprised we weren't kicking deeper. There's obviously a reason behind it. And then obviously, I don't know, does Lockie Galvin need to find a coach that can teach him how to kick the ball into the wind? Because we saw him struggle with kicks into the wind against Cronulla in the second half, whereas we saw Jerome Luai in the Cronulla game basically try and kick the ball dead in goal high, and then allow the wind to float it back, so you've got a competitive kick. I just feel like Lockie Galvin's kicks into the wind, they just go up and they go backwards, and they're absolutely nothing kicks. But if you can summarise all of that crap that I just said to you and tell me about Jerome's kicking in the first half and the second half as well, please.
South Sydney's kick pressure was outstanding in the first half. I will say that. They really attacked Jerome with his kicking, so I think the kick pressure made a big difference. The other thing he does, and I can't believe they let him not get away with it, but it could be just execution. He kicks the ball from the left-hand side to their left winger, which to me opens us up a little bit. But I don't know. Our kicking has been poor. Jerome did it really well for Penrith. There was a lot of times on that left side, as a left kicker, he would nail that kick into their right corner. He did it so well for Penrith. I don't know why he doesn't do it well for us. I will say this for Penrith, they would always make an extra 10, 15 metres in yardage. So he's kicking a lot from around halfway, whereas for Penrith, he'd be kicking at the 60, which is their 40-metre line. So I think that's a big thing. Both our kickers aren't naturally, elite general play kickers. So that's probably a part of it. And Latu isn't as well. So it's part of our game that we're just going to have to know that we're not great. We're not going to be a great kicking team. It's just one of those things. They just got to get reps and reps and reps. But yeah, I don't think necessarily. I think there was one bad kick in the first half. There was the one where Galvin caught it. Like again, we're not like I'm not bashing Galvin. Like this has got.
It was a great catch before he put the poor kick. It was a great catch.
Oh, it's a catch, but this is the thing, right? And this is the part of us that I think that every little detail around what we do needs to be better. Lockie Galvin, who's a 5'8", caught the ball 30 metres out, catches it, and then has about a second to act and kick the ball again to try to sit it up and kicks it dead. Mark Nawanga-Nitawase for the Roosters catches the ball or hops on one leg on a sideline, has about that much room to work with and nails a kick in field with good touch because they practice that stuff, I promise you. I wonder how much detail we put into our work. There's a lot that's going on that we need to, they would be doing a review this week into the bye. I guarantee it, mate. There's a lot to look at for a club.
I'll tell you another team that doesn't do much specific kicking training would be the Dolphins. I don't know if you saw the end of the game yesterday with Jack Bostock just having an absolute lash of the ball instead of using his instep of his left leg to keep the ball in and probably score the winning try. Mate, let's talk about something positive here. Appy's second try. Look, again, I haven't rewatched anything. I'm still trying to get over losing. I'm pretty sure South had 12 men at the time, but maybe you can just talk us through that and what Appy recognised and how it all panned out.
Well, he made 2 breaks before it.
Let's talk about those.
Yeah, mate. His ability to ID the rucks, and I think it's almost criminal the disrespect he gets from referees in regards to how he picks markers, considering how they treat us with our markers and how many times he picks off markers and he just doesn't get the respect from referees that he deserves in that regard. I think a lot more of what we do should be played from that perspective. Instead of a lot of the shape that we play, instead of that, just let him roll us through the middle of the field. Like don't even worry about going wide. When we're coming out of yardage and we've had some first 2 carries, just sit in that middle corridor and let the most craftiest number 9 in rugby league, just let him penetrate. Like I think that's and I think he's a little bit he's a bit too unselfish. I think that a few people said this to me that Terrell May getting held up, they thought Uppy could have won himself. I think he's too unselfish naturally. So I think he needs to be a little bit more selfish with how he plays out a dummy half. But mate, he just tore him to shreds in the middle of the field, and then the try, mate, he just again he's his footwork is very underrated, isn't it? Because if you go back and watch the try, he just leaves.
Looks like you've frozen up. This is our standard freeze 45 minutes in. So we'll just wait for Adel to chime back in. But I will say, talking about the second time that he stood Latrell up, it was quite funny how Appy shows his right hand, like, I'm going to go right, and which then Latrell Mitchell thought, well, he's going to go the other way, but he ended up going the same way that he was pointing his hand to and beating all ends up. So I think also with Appy Coruscant, what we saw tonight, we got spoiled by the last 2 years. This is a typical Appy Coruscant performance of 2023 and 2024. So yeah, he was absolutely outstanding. He, Terrell May, Jareen Buller, they absolutely left it all out there. When we get Adel back shortly, I will ask him about what he thought of some other players or some other players he saw that played well. I actually thought Charlie Staines played really well. He tried really hard, ran the ball with vigour, did a couple of offloads, didn't actually make a mistake really. I thought he was on point the whole night, stayed away from the sideline when he needed to. I thought Jack Bird's impact was really good. Jack Bird's been down on form. Obviously, Benji dropped him for the Melbourne game. I liked what I saw from Jack Bird there as well. But, you know, again, it's just so... It's almost like it would have been easier to lose 64-0 than to lose the way we did tonight, because I thought we were going to get thrashed. We weren't in the game the first half. Somehow we were only down 6-12 at halftime. Then when South score first, you think, here we go. We're down by 10 points and we're chasing another. We're running into the wind. It's going to be so hard to come back. But sure enough, we come in it. Adel, I've just been doing a little bit of a monologue while you've been gone, mate. Let's see if our brains think the same way. Talk to me about some other players you thought did well tonight. I've named 2 in particular. I want to see if we're on the same wavelength or not.
Well, I thought Charlie Staines was really good.
Okay, that's good. You nailed one of them.
Well, I didn't know. You know
well,
what,
let's talk about Charlie. Give me your thoughts on Charlie.
No. Before you do that, I'm actually not going to cheat here because I wanted to make you feel good. So I was actually, I could actually hear you.
Oh
but
no,
I wasn't.
Okay.
So I was just cheating then for a sec. Now look, I thought, you know, Charlie Staines did his job. You know, he carried well out of yardage. Did a good job. I thought Stafford Toa again. I thought defensively helped our right edge. I think him playing an out-and-out right centre who's done a lot of reps there, playing made a big difference. Twali is Twali. Yeah, 7 out of 10. Nothing more, nothing less. He'll have his odd 8 out of 10 performance. Obviously, Jareen was unbelievable. You know, every time he touches the ball, mate, he looks dangerous. He is such a good fullback. You know,
he's our best player.
As much as we're sitting here talking about recruitment, I'll tell you what, forget all that. I don't know how this is going to work, but we've got to make sure. I know he's signed for another couple of years, but what you got to do is you got to upgrade him the next 2 years. Whatever he's signed for, he needs to get an upgrade right now, and that's the way you keep him in the long term. Is you don't even sit there and wait for the next contract. You upgrade this one with extensions, and that's forget Lachlan Galvin. Jareen Bull is the player we need to sign.
Do you agree with my assessment on
if Jareen Bull is the Bulldogs fullback, they are premiership favourites. If Jareen Bull is playing for any of the teams in the contention, the teams they're talking about at the moment, the Warriors, all these, their premiership credentials go up tenfold. He's just elite, absolutely elite.
Yeah, well, I don't think any early extension talks are going to happen, given his manager is Isaac Moses, unless he goes to someone else.
I don't think that's going to matter, mate. I think if they have the chat with Jareen, I said to you, Jareen's I think a different situation. Yeah, Isaac's his manager, but I don't think Isaac pulls. You got to remember, he's only just joined Isaac, and he only joined him because his manager's no longer a manager. So, I don't think it's the same sort of relationship.
I think you do that, Adel, when you're 5-5. I don't think, if they wait a couple of months and we're 6-12 or something, I think then Dream's got to say, well, no, mate, let's just see how next season goes. I don't think you're going to get a player wanting to commit to a team that's not showing
he's
signs of
got another
improvement.
he's got another 2
He's got
years
two
on
and a
his
half
deal.
years.
So
yeah, correct.
But that's my point, Rob. So if you upgrade him, so let's say he's on 400. I'm pretty sure he's on 450, 500 the next couple of years, right? If you change that to an $800,000 deal, which I think he's worth, you're the only team that can offer him an extra 600,000 over the next 2 years. So if you offer him that with an extension, you can offer him money that nobody else can. That's the point, and that's how you make.
I hear you. I hear you, and I agree. I agree with the theory of it, but we've got our roster's so dire, mate. We need that money for other players for this year, next year, whatever we can do. But I hear you. I know how.
No, we don't. No, we don't. This
Mate,
is
we
the
do.
Terrell, mate. This is the Terrell, mate, 80-minute argument with you. If Terrell doesn't play 80 minutes, we probably don't win games. If we don't sign Jareem Buller, don't worry about all these other guys, because then you got to start from scratch in regards to recruitment. So it's the same, like people criticize the KP and Dylan Brown thing in Newcastle. Yeah, they spent a lot of money, but at least they've got an elite fullback. And I know everybody doesn't think the same as me. They've got an elite half in Dylan Brown. So that's for us where we've got to go, okay, if we can lock up our fullback and we've got to lock up our halfback for the next 5 years, you can still spend money around that. There's plenty of salary cap, and the salary cap is just going to go up and up. So you can manage that.
I just want to backtrack on one thing. I realised why I blocked it out of my memory and I couldn't remember the try. Alex Johnson's try, it ended up being a 4-on-2. I think it was after Colin Matangi had done a little bit of a waltz with Lockie Galvin in the prior tackle. What I want to ask you, Adel, it was just a simple 4-on-2. It was literally past the parcel. It was such an easy-looking try. Forget about the previous tackle, whether Lockie's got to make a better effort or not. Whose fault is it that we don't get our numbers right, 13 on 13, and we leave ourselves 4-on-2, 4-on-2 behind on a very short, blindside? Like, is that the halfback's call? Is that Luai? Is that the fullback that's meant to be talking? Like, who should be talking in that situation to get your numbers right?
Well, the way this would be done in review is you will ask Jareem, who's in charge of our defensive numbers. So if Jareem told the guy that's on the other side to go that way and he doesn't go, well, then obviously it's that person's fault. The thing I will say, and this is the criticism, I'm going to criticize, who's our defense coach? John Morris?
Yep.
If I'm the coach there, I'm coaching our fullback to say, you fill the hole if you can't get the extra number. Jareem was 20 metres back. So that tells me that that's not their strategy. I'm going to reflect to the good teams. Dylan Edwards goes and fills that gap in the line. Connor Tracy at the moment, if you watch, and obviously it's the same sort of structure as what Penrith's got. What he does is he actually, when the teams get inside the 30, he will go defend in the line to make sure that, because what's the point of saying, because people say, oh, well, if they kick him behind you, well, then there's no fullback at home. Well, there's no point worrying about kicking him behind if you're going to give him a 4-on-2 on a short side. So what you do is you tell the fullback to come sit in the line in A. At least it gives you, it presents a line with a little bit of solidarity and with numbers. If they want to kick, well, then Jareem can turn and chase, or somebody else can turn and chase. But you're right, they got that wrong. But this was the conversation we had last week. Colin Matangi went straight at Galvin. He bumped him off. He made an extra 15 metres. They got a quick play the ball. It scrambled our defensive line, and they attacked that short side. And it was simple catch, pass. And, they scored in the corner. That was again, Galvin, 25 tackles this week to Luai's 14.
Yeah, they're definitely picking on our right edge, although overall they did a good job, except for that part. Adel, any other players you'd like to touch on before we put a summary on this and look forward to having a nice week and a half off?
No, I thought, look, I'm not going to question the effort. I stand by what I said last week. All the 7 comp players that are off contract, I don't think any of them get retained. Potentially Charlie Staines if you want to keep depth on the wing. But again, you're probably not offering him big money. I think we learned that there's guys that in the long term don't have futures in our club. It's probably what we learned today and over the course of the last 11 weeks.
Did you get to watch much of the other games this weekend, Adel?
I watched every game, Rob.
Okay, good. I'm just checking that because I want to throw a question at you.
I didn't watch the Broncos. I didn't watch the Broncos game because we had our game today, obviously.
Okay, yeah, well, I didn't watch that one either. I was too busy trying to hit a little white ball. Any players from those other games that are fringe players that might be an okay acquisition for the West Tigers for 18 months, maybe for the rest of this year, that, guys that are sort of on the semi-outer at their clubs that you would consider bringing in, of anyone you saw?
Well, I mean, I gave you the names last week of the guys I liked. I don't know, some people out there were very critical, but what you got to understand is you can't sign Jerome Luai's and Nathan Cleary's and the sexy marquee. Not every signing is going to be a marquee signing. For us, it's about value for money and guys who are going to do a job for us and a better job than what we've currently got. That's going to be the key for us. So, like I said, it's just got to be figuring out who the better seasoned first graders are and guys that are potentially at other clubs that I don't necessarily think it's the guys playing first grade at the moment for other clubs, Rob. I think it's the guys on the fringe who are not getting good minutes and can probably in a team like ours probably add a bit more value. Nobody really stands out and comes to the top of my head, to be honest.
Mate, I love
like I said, the guys last week, probably the ones I liked.
Yeah, I love what Jerome Luai brings to our club culturally and in terms of his effort, intensity, him being so inspirational to everything he does, even that cover tackle he did off I think the bullet pass that got intercepted by Alex Johnson in the first half, and he ran him down and tackled him. I think that led to the sin bin of Lockie Galvin. But he's on $1.3 million. I think he's only got a try assist or two to his name, mate. Does he need to be creating more in attack to justify his price tag? I know you're a big fan of his, but ultimately it comes down to what he produces on the field. Is he doing enough in your eyes at the moment, given we're 11 rounds into the competition and on the price tag he's on?
I'm a little bit different than everybody else. Price tag doesn't matter to me. At the end of the day, he's got to impact winning for us. What that looks like from a numbers perspective is irrelevant. Jerome has proven in the past that he likes to play with people who like to play with him. If you look back throughout it, and I know obviously it's easier when you're winning, Nathan loved playing with Jerome. The Galvin thing, I think, has made a big difference. I'm not making an excuse here. But we go back to the Warriors game when Latu Fainu scored. And I remember telling you at the time that was a very big indicator for me. How Jerome reacted and some of the things he said about Latu. I think that's going to break open Jerome Luai. Look, in the long term, absolutely, he's got to impact us winning the game more. And he knows that more than anybody. No doubt about it. But I don't think necessarily it's got to do with numbers. The numbers will come, but I think also we've got to build a roster around him as well. Like, you look at the start of this year when Penrith were a little bit down on troops, Nathan wasn't doing anything for Penrith. He wasn't getting the numbers and creating and whatnot. So I think we've got a part to play as well in regards to building the right team around him as well.
Final thing I want to touch on tonight, Adel, and I know you're always the big defender of him. You're rarely critical of him. Give us your thoughts on the coaching performance this week, just for this week, and how it all panned out with Benji Marshall.
Well, it's the one thing I've always never understood, because obviously I watch some of the shows how you guys do rankings on Benji. Like, how do how do you rank a coach? Like interchanges, but it's hard to rank a coach. Look, players, it's the eye test. You get to see all the information's out there for you. Like you get to watch the players play. You can't rank a coach when you don't know what is going on. You don't know whether, you know, coaches get a lot of information and there's stuff that we don't know about that they do. And there's reasons why they do it. So for example, you know, for all we know, and this is a challenge of being a coach, you know, stuff a told might have come back today. That could have always been a plan, Rob. And it's happened. It happens at the elite level where they come back and they say to you, the medical staff and the sports science say, look, you know, I'm a coach. Look, I want Stafford to play this week. Well, mate, he can play, but he's on a minutes restriction of 60 minutes because we don't think he can handle, you know, he hasn't had the right load. He hasn't been able to train. You know, he's at risk of injury if he plays more than 60 minutes. So that's what we're going to cap him at. That's to me, after watching today, and you could tell Stafford started to cramp. That's why they put Nathan on the bench. Because from my assumption is that could have happened. The medical staff have said, we don't think he can play 80. So if you're going to play him and you want him to play this week, he can play, but he can't play 80. So that means you've got to put Nathan on the bench. And that's the reality of professional sport. And this is, as coaches, you've got to rely on those people to tell you that stuff. Because sometimes they'll come and say, well, no, he's not fit to play 80 minutes. Okay, can he play 60? Can he play 50? He can play 50, but that's where we're capping his minutes restriction at. Okay, I'll put Nathan on the bench, and at 50 minutes, we'll take him off. How does that sound? Yep, medical staff say, yep, everybody's in agreement, we pick him. So that's a little bit of an insight into why things may have happened. Now, I'm like you at the start of the week. I was a bit surprised why they had Nathan on the bench, but the way it played out tells me what I'm assuming the plan would have been and why it happened. And that's the reality of what could have happened. I'll be critical of Benji of one thing. I think our support staff needs to improve. I'll just say that. I'm not going to elaborate on it. I think the support staff needs to improve. I don't think we have an elite coaching staff. That's the way I'll put it.
Fair enough. Look, I think, you know, the negative for me is our red zone attack in particular. We saw it today. We would have been held to nil if it wasn't for Appy. So that really disappoints me. I think the positive for Benji is, other than the Melbourne game, I think every game this year, the players play for him. Like that's the biggest positive. Like he does get the players to give their all for him. I just think we've got to be a little bit smarter and we've got to be able to adjust a little bit. I will, again, we lost 64-0. It made no difference to the game. But I remember talking to you last week, Adel, we touched on Xavier Coates against Tito Taruva and just getting out-leaped and just owned all game. I watched that Cronulla Melbourne, the end of the game last night, the last 25 minutes or so, and I saw Xavier Coates owning Daniel Atkinson, and as soon as he caught that try to get him back within a converted try of winning the game, straight away he swapped Mulatalo over from the left wing, and he's a specialist left winger. He swapped him straight over the right, and I actually tipped my hat and said, good on you, Craig Fitzgibbon. Like, you've actually adjusted to the situation. And I think they tried to put one more bomb up, which was, you know, they didn't get any success out of it, Melbourne, and they kind of nullified that. But it was just good that he actually made the change, because we just seem to, whatever we go out with, we just seem to leave it there. We don't seem to adjust during the game tactically too much, or at least to the eye. We don't know what they're doing, but we can only assume by what they see. But yeah, I just want to see a little bit more, you know, chess from Benji occasionally, and just sort of sticking to the same old thing. Because, like I said last week, Taruva's played left and right wing at Penrith. Like, sometimes they used to alternate week to week. And I know from backing try scorers, I'm thinking, what are you doing on the left wing when you're meant to be on the right wing? So it's not like he's just flexible on one wing. But look, he got them to play. They left the ball out there.
Yeah.
Sorry?
No, I also think that was the case of a guy playing on the wing that wasn't a winger. It's different to swapping wingers.
He's just getting out left. It doesn't matter who you are.
Did you see that Daniel Did you see that Daniel Atkinson scored 2 tries, Rob, yesterday?
I did see that.
In-house joke for me and Rob, that one.
Yeah, I know, but we got the win at Leichhardt Oval. That's the main thing, mate. Don't worry about your little multis there, mate. But but anyway, look, all right, mate. I think we'll wrap it up. We've spoken for well over an hour, mate. Just finally, are we going to make the 8 or not? Yes or no?
No.
Yeah, and I'm going to say no too because I don't think we've got the depth. I think if we can put our best 17 out there, we're one of the better teams in the comp. But, you know, I guess every team could say that to a degree. But I just think injuries are going to start to hurt now. And hopefully Samuel is not too badly injured. And, yeah, I just feel disappointed for Appy and Terrell in particular for not, you know, getting those origin spots. I think their form's been warranted. I get that Jerome Luai hasn't been the greatest this year, but again, he's probably a little bit, he could be a little bit disappointed given all his combinations with Edwards and Cleary and winning 4 premierships in a row not to be there.
Well, we'll forget that. Forget that for a second, Rob. Let's be blunt here. Jerome Luai won the State of Origin for New South Wales last year. This is the ridiculous part of this, and this is all about his personality and who he is, and you know, this is. I'm not going to dive into it too deep, but don't forget, he won in the game. He broke the game wide open himself. The disrespect of not putting him in that side tells. I hope to God New South Wales cop the karma of it because it doesn't matter. Like I said, like obviously Moses scored that second try, but the game was nothing. There was nothing in the game, and it was Jerome Luai that opened the game up in that Origin game. If that was Cleary, if that was anyone else, they would have. It would have been talked about in folklore for him making the break to win him the game. But it's Jerome Luai. Like, let's be honest, people don't like Jerome Luai.
I think they're copying the karma. They're copying the karma already because Payne Haas is in doubt, Stephen Crichton's in doubt. Just a non-West Tigers topic. Would you have stuck with the winning team from, or you know, the winning halves from Game 3 last year, or would you throw Cleary straight back in that team? Because Moses was outstanding.
You want to know? You know, I'll tell you something. People always say to me, "Well, you can't not pick Cleary." You'd because you're a football nut like me. Andrew Johns played hooker for New South Wales.
Yeah, when Kamali was halfback. That's right.
Mate, he also played it when Jeff Tuvey was halfback. If you go back even further, so if Andrew Johns can do it, Nathan Cleary. And I'm not saying Nathan Cleary should play hooker, but I don't know. It's a tough one. It's like it is genuinely a tough one. But I sort of sit there and go, what would Queensland do?
Yeah, true. They stick together, Queenslanders, don't they? They always stick and pick and stick.
At the end of the day now, if you don't win, if you're Laurie Daly and you don't win after the winning formula last year, what do you say? How do you justify it? But it's hard to not pick Nathan Cleary, to be fair.
Yeah,
I would have went with Cleary. I would have went with Cleary and Luai.
Yeah, I put a tweet out during the week that got a lot of compliments. I said if Laurie Daly can't pick the New South Wales team, like why should we expect him to pick a good New South Wales team when the selectors can't even pick the right coach? Like they literally plucked Laurie Daly out of the TAB, mate.
No.
That's just a token of point, mate.
New South Wales Rugby League is corrupt. Oh, no, corrupt's not the word. It's a boys' club. Laurie Daly's best mates with all the guys in the media, all the guys in New South Wales Rugby League. Like the fact that they've gone back to him is embarrassing. But Queensland's squad is just not very good in my eyes. So, but what we've seen in the past is Queensland. If you turn up as a New South Wales squad not ready to go against Queensland, they're going to beat you. So it'll be interesting to see. I mean, how do you? If they lose the series this year, surely they don't keep Daly. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah. All right, mate. Well, look, thanks for joining us. I'm actually glad I didn't get to Campbelltown for once because I probably would have jumped the fence and been given a life ban and I'll never be able to watch my beloved Tigers again. So I did the right thing, stayed home nice and calm, reasonably happy considering we just had our season crushed. But thanks again, mate. Join us on Wednesday night from the Orange Grove Hotel at 8:35 p.m. where we'll talk a little bit more about this, and we might even do a bit of a mid-season review. I'm not sure exactly what Josh has got planned, given we don't have a game next week. And then after that, we will be at the Orange Grove Saturday week watching the game live against the Cowboys. So hopefully we can back up with a good win. Hopefully the Cowboys get a lot of players picked for Queensland tomorrow, and they don't back up after the Origin game the Saturday night. But thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the West Tigers Life podcast. You can join us every Wednesday night live at 8:30 p.m. from the Orange Grove Hotel. A big thank you to Orange Grove Hotel for their support, as well as iChoice Home Loans. If you want to hear more from the West Tigers Life podcast, go to westtigers.com.au. That'll be our link tree, and you'll find links to all our social media, and you can sign up at our Patreon at patreon.com/WestLife. Join us next time on West Tigers Life.